Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Ross Johnston. The Titans and the Vols are both on byes this weekend. The Titans will host the Houston Texans next Sunday at Nissan Stadium with kickoff set for 12 p.m. Central, and Tennessee will host New Mexico State next Saturday in Neyland with kickoff set for 3:15 p.m. Central. Number 15 ranked Vanderbilt does play tomorrow. They host the unranked Auburn Tigers in Nashville with kickoff set for 3 p.m. Central. Vanderbilt does have 2 losses and is fighting the rest of the regular season for their playoff lives. In 2 pieces of important NFL news, the Indianapolis Colts have placed defensive tackle DeForest Buckner on injured reserve, which will sideline him for the next 4 games as he is dealing with a neck injury. Also, Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels is not expected to be placed on injured reserve. Ian Rappaport reports that the medical opinions on Daniels' elbow aren't as bad as intended, and he will be reevaluated in the bye week. Lastly, in college hoops, the Vols host Northern Kentucky tomorrow with tip set for 2 p.m. Central at Food City Center. For all your foundation repair, waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Welcome into Cover 2 on 104.5 The Zone. We are broadcasting live in the 104.5 The Zone Circa Sports Studios. Kentucky's largest sports book can be found at Circa Sports at Kentucky Downs. No, I am not Zach Lyons, as you're so used to seeing as 1 o'clock rolls by. I am Joseph Bonanno, and alongside me is not Blaine Bishop, but it is another former Titans legend, Kevin Dyson. What's up, Kevin? How are you?
Man? Good. Ready for the weekend? Off weekend, no Titans football for the weekend, just to enjoy college football.
That's right. No Titans, no Vols. Both are on their bye week as we get in. But it doesn't mean no Titans, no Vols, that there's no football talk, because there's plenty of football happening around the NFL and college. But the thing I want to talk to you first as we get in here is the importance of the bye week for a team like the Titans, who are struggling as they are. Going in halfway through the season now. They've played 9 games. They're 1-8. In your opinion, what can a bye week do for a team that is struggling as much as they have so far?
Provide needed mental and physical rest. Aside from those that are injured, trying to come back, I would assume Calvin Ridley may not have gone anywhere, taking some time away. He's probably staying in town, doing some rehab. Maybe he take a quick trip, go see family, Florida, whatever. But that little break, especially for a young guy, we've got a lot of young rookies getting a substantial amount of playing time. This is opportunity just to rest. Essentially, they've played their college season plus the bowl season at this point. It's a lot, man, physically. They haven't really had rest since probably the off season of their senior season, going into their last season in college. I say senior season, but I'll say last season in college, because you go from your senior season to prep for the NFL Combine and getting ready for that, to mini camps, to getting ready for training camp, to now to this point. So just much needed rest, and with everything going on, the uncertainty surrounding who might be traded, who might not be here, who's going to be released, and all that is just, let me just have a moment away. Then you come back recharged, ready to make the hopefully a late season push.
Yeah, and, with Cam Ward specifically, not only has he been going since his last year at Miami, I mean, it's been football nonstop, but he's got the most important job on the field.
Yeah.
He is taking over a franchise as the starting quarterback in a league that he's never done it before.
Right.
And he's coming in and he's really experiencing this. And now he's experienced hardship and trouble in the game of football in his life before. He said that a million times, but I don't think he's ever experienced anything to this extent. How much can a bye week do for a rookie quarterback? And how good for Cam Ward do you think it'd be for him to just step away from the game a little bit this week and try to recharge that mental state that he's in?
quarterback, all of them, I think every last one of them needs to step away for a little bit and just take a day or two. And some players, their mentality, and Cam's kind of like this from my perspective, of a guy who can't stay away too long. He's always evaluating and trying to find ways to get better. He's one of those guys that gets up super early, as he has documented, and does things. But my hope for him, especially being a rookie quarterback, especially with the changes that have taken place in his short time here, that he is able to, and he does take that time to just not think about football. And I don't know who Miami plays this weekend. I'm assuming he's going to be on that sideline watching that game, wherever that is. That's generally what a lot of guys do. We saw Shedeur do it in Colorado. We've seen various players go back to their alma mater and just be present and just be around it again. All right, this is still a kid's game. I'm in that pro world, that grown up world now, but it's still a kid's game. Let me relax. I had a good time, and it's time to go back to work.
Miami will host Syracuse tomorrow at 2:30, and if you don't remember, that is the game that knocked Miami out of the playoffs last year. When Cam Ward led. So maybe this is a good chance to him go back and get a little revenge.
I would say 100% he's at that game. He will be on camera on the sidelines. They will say he's in attendance. No doubt in my mind that's where he's at.
Do you think the coaching staff, just with how we see Cam Ward and what his mentality is, that I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. every day, I'm going to be at the office at 5 a.m. and I'm going to put in work, and I'm looking for the highest standard for myself 24/7.
Right.
Do you think that coaching staff had to kind of push him to step away a little bit? Or do you think that there was any urge in him to stay? No, you know what, we're struggling. I need to stay here. We need to keep working. Do you think he was?
I think he's gone. I think one thing you recognize about all that playing time is you do need that time away. Even when you're in college, if you have an open week, a lot of schools still have open weeks. You still get away from that time, whether it's go watch your high school team play, your college team, just something to when it was familiar to you, when you had great success, you just try to get away for a little bit. So I don't think they had to do a whole lot of convincing. I will say this, because once Saturday is over, you're back into prep.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming if he hasn't already, he's going to get the game plan for next week soon, if not already has it. So he's still going to be in football mode. It's just getting away from the office, so to speak, where you're not in Nashville, you're not going down the Great Circle Road. You're doing you without the hustle and bustle of week to week, prep by prep, meeting by meeting, practice by practice, and then Sundays you get to kind of decompress and get away from a little bit. So I don't think it took a whole lot of convincing, especially he looked at that week and he saw Syracuse and he was like, I'm going to that game. Revenge is on mine. But yeah, I don't think they had to do too much of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a guy who, like I said, holds himself to as high of a standard could really benefit from a bye week. And, I was looking at some rookie numbers before and after bye weeks over the last couple of years. And I found this very interesting. A lot of the bye weeks came either kind of early or pretty late. So there was a lot of week 7s, week 6s bye weeks for these rookie quarterbacks, and a lot of week 14s. Wow. Cam Ward kind of gets that benefit of it being smack dab in the middle of the season. So,
which is great. I love that one.
Because last year I believe the Titans had the week 5 bye, and it was that first 4 weeks, week 5, and then it was 13 straight weeks of getting beat down and down and down. And obviously, you had the quarterback issues last year with Will Levis, his injuries and play, and then Mason Rudolph coming in, and so. I think the fact that it's smack dab in the middle this year will not only help the team, but help the rookie quarterback that the Titans are playing this year.
Yeah, that was always my favorite bye, somewhere in the middle, 7, 8, 9 for us. It just seems to break that season up a little bit better. And then, you're coming back, you got that second half push. The ones you always hate was the ones super early and super late, like week 2 or week 14, like you talk about. Those were the worst because you just grinding. And that mental weekly grind, man, you just need a time. But that's why I always say it's hard to stay optimum week to week, physically, your body's beat down. You just going, and it's taxing on you mentally and physically every week. And to get up, so that's why you will see the number 1 team in AFC lose to the number 28 team in NFL or whatever, because there's that imbalance. Like, man, it's hard to get up for this one. You know what I mean? You try, and there's some things as a competitor, it's game mode. You always have to, but your body's just worn and things like that. So them breaks they're so crucial for a season. The best ones are, like I said, week 7, week 8, week 9, like right there in the middle. Those were always the best breaks for me.
And I hope, like, with them coming out of this bye week, they would have to win out and have some things shake their way to make the playoffs. I think we all know that's not happening.
Right.
But it'd be easy. It's natural for an athlete to be like, well, our season's over, come back from the bye, like, don't need to give it my all, the rest of these weeks. Like, I hope these guys, especially the young guys, just realize, like, hey, we're building something here. We're trying to, like, let's keep pushing the rest of the season. I think it'll be easy, too, coming back from the bye because, one, the rest. Also, they're playing Houston, which we know how much that game means to the owner of this franchise. But when it gets into, like, week 13, 14, when it's easy to just kind of go through the motions, I hope these guys can stay the course and just keep fighting to build something.
Well, I think, some of that, though, too, the motivation in that is you don't know what's going to happen. There's 31 other teams, and I'm on film, so I still got to play at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
I still got to prepare like I'm getting ready, because you don't know. As we've seen. I mean, we've seen what the Jets have done. We've seen what the Titans have done. We've seen what the Colts have done. We've seen some of these organizations have done in the last, week or two with trades and moves and stuff like that. And so you have no idea what the organization is thinking about. Next year, who is guaranteed to be back in 2026 besides Cam? I mean, you may go to the rookie class. Probably you can probably name a handful of guys, 20 guys that you say, oh, they'll most definitely be back. But honestly, you just don't know. Nobody knows. You don't know who's going to show interest in Al Manor and say, hey, we'll give you 2 draft picks for him. We need that. You don't know what's going to be happening behind the scenes. So as a player, you almost got to prepare like you're being evaluated for the next team anyway. Even if you're on a contract here for 5 years, you want to be here and you want to play a high level here, but you don't know the nature of the business is going to take you away from you. I'm assuming these guys that were traded, they might have known their conversations were there, but who wants to move in the middle of the season? You didn't gone to training camp, played a few games with a group of guys, and now to stop midstream and go start all over in midseason and come into a situation where you may know a couple guys in the locker room, but you really got to reintroduce yourself and prove your value, if you will, to another group of guys. And so there's motivation in that for sure, but that is coming back from a bye week on a tumultuous season like this. The motivation is yourself, in my opinion. That's the only thing you can control. So you better put something up on tape, or else it's gonna be hard for you to get that job next year or that contract, whatever you're after.
Well, not only are you auditioning for their team, you're auditioning for a new coaching staff.
Yeah, too.
Because with a whole new coaching staff coming in, there's no guarantee that they're going to play you in the spot that
philosophy
you
changes.
think you want to be in.
Yeah.
And so you got to make sure you're putting the stuff on tape that, hey, I can do what I want to do, and I'm going to do it at a high level. And no matter what philosophy you bring in here, you're going to have to use me how I want to be used.
Absolutely. And you don't know what that coach is going to look for. I remember that transition from a 4-3 to a 3-4 when Derek Morgan, he went from a hands-down guy to now kind of a rush-in outside linebacker type. And there was a learning curve for him, right? And he had to adjust, and it took him a little while, and he finally adjusted. And he had a double-digit sack season, I believe, out of that. But again, philosophy changed where you were drafted to be a different type of player, and then philosophy changed, and now you're having to adjust right there in the heart of your career. And not to say the organization owes anything to the players to go get a coach that matches the exact same symptoms that the predecessor had. But it's also nice to be able to say we've drafted players for this sort of philosophy that we can just build on that for whatever we bring in. But, that's a whole nother conversation, which is going to be taking place from now, since we got the interim thing going on, from now until that decision is made. And then what does that look like for those players in the meantime, while the GM, the president, and them, when the season ends, are making moves, and we don't know when the coach is coming in. So they're making moves, signing free agents. We don't even know that philosophy is going to match with that coach, with the moves that they're making. So, you know, it's a synergy thing, man. You hope that the stars align, because when they do, obviously that's when franchises are successful and winning.
Real quick before we go to break, with it being the bye week, Dyson, what are some things that maybe you did on the bye week or you saw some of your teammates do while you were playing to do on the bye week, just that seemed to work the best to get that recharge in?
Man, I tell you, a lot of guys have habits. So you'll see guys go take a golf trip, like a good weekend golf trip, fishing trips. Most guys, especially younger guys, if they're not married or whatnot, they go back to the alma mater, go to the game, watch their game, do what they need to do. They go to nearby cities just to hang out, Miami, Atlanta, Vegas, just being real. Go have a good
Awesome
time.
steam.
Yeah. And then, truth be told, a lot of guys married with kids, you don't get a whole lot of time with them during the season. So you'll see guys take little mini trips. They may go to Chicago or New Orleans or something, like quick little mini trips with their families, because they get an extended time of a break, and so they'll do that. But most guys, for the most part, I would say 75% of them will get out of town for a day or two, just to either go to their college on a little mini trip and just stay away from football. And then other guys might just get locked in. What I mean by that, they still coming here for rehab, getting treatment or what have you, but they just get locked in there, just have that time to themselves a little bit, just get away from the game a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of fishers, a lot of golfers on this team.
Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of them will be out on a boat or on a golf course.
And it's deer hunting season too?
I think so.
Yeah,
so a couple hunters out there too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, our own man Zach Lyons today is on a fishing trip enjoying his bye week. So
Yeah, he wouldn't tell us where he's going because he's too much of a celebrity now.
okay, he told us, but he didn't tell the general population.
Oh, yeah, too much of a celebrity, Zach Lyons. Didn't want to let us know where he's going. But up next, we are going to meet with Jordan Dejani of CBS Sports. We're going to take a look around the NFL, see what his thoughts were on the NFL trade deadline, which is probably one of the crazier ones in recent memory. We'll take a look at some of these Week 10 news headlines and go around the NFL with Jordan Dejani. Coming up next on Cover 2, sponsored by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
You might not know this, but there's an auto repair company that pays its mechanic more than any repair shops you know or I know in the area. Hey, this is Blaine Bishop for Eurofix. And why would Eurofix do that? A decent technician can make 50 to 60 grand a year. A good technician that's pretty fast can make up to $120,000 a year. And a really, really fast technician who's really, really good can make up to what? $180,000 a year. And they are a mechanic. Can you believe that? And a lot of people look down on the mechanics, and they shouldn't. And the local owner of Aaron Stokes, of Eurofix, is an ex-mechanic, and mechanics are what make the world go round. Yes, that's what Aaron Stokes says. And everything out there has to be worked on. And did you know that Eurofix is not open on the weekends? Because Eurofix wants the kids and mom and dad's employees to have weekends together and not apart. And Aaron Stokes figured out a long time ago, if home life isn't happy, work life won't be happy or unhappy. So that's why Eurofix is open Monday through Fridays. And European vehicles fixed at below dealer pricing. Get a 3-year, 36,000-mile nationwide warranty on all repairs at Eurofix that they perform. And they have 5 locations. But all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX or visit them online at myeurofix.com.
Welcome into the second segment of the first hour of Cover 2. I'm Joseph Bonanno. Alongside me is Dr. Kevin Dyson. Cover 2, sponsored by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. And right now, we're going to head to the phones as we talk with Jordan Dejani of CBS Sports. Jordan, I know I'm not Zach Lyons, but thanks for joining us today.
What's going on, friends? Thanks for having me on the show. I'm glad that at least some people are taking the bye week seriously and showing up to work. So I'm glad to talk ball with you guys anytime.
Appreciate you joining us. Okay, let's dive into this NFL trade deadline. Is this the craziest deadline that we've seen in the NFL in the last, 5 years or so?
It's certainly up there. And it's also part of a trend. I think we've seen the most players traded in season this year over the past 25 seasons, with 27 total players being moved from team to team. There's been an average of 19.4 players traded midseason per year since 2019. So I think you can make the argument that we're definitely seeing an uptick in transactions. But it was super surprising. I mean, the Jets had something that was similar to a fire sale. The Tennessee Titans did not. The Indianapolis Colts land a new star cornerback. It was definitely wild.
Let's talk about that Jets fire sale real quick. What do you think that means for their franchise? Do you think they're stocking up for a future quarterback, or do you think they're going to do what we've seen them do in the past and build a team and then try and get the QB?
It's really interesting because I don't think the Jets front office woke up on Tuesday morning and said, you know what, let's have a yard sale. Let's sell off some of these important building blocks that we've acquired through good draft picks. Because if that were the case, I think they would have moved on from other players such as Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and maybe linebacker Quincy Williams, who was recently benched too. I think the offer they got from Sauce Gardner was quite simply too good to pass up, right? 2 first-round picks is a hefty price to pay. And if you're a rebuilding franchise that is one of the worst in the NFL and just re-signed him to a massive extension, you can make some sense why you want to move on from him there. Quinnen Williams going to the Dallas Cowboys as well, giving up a future first-round pick and a second-round pick. That was a good price for the Jets to take from the Cowboys too. So, yeah, I think the Jets are definitely hitting the reset button. I don't think it's going to be surprising if they have a new quarterback in 2026 as well. So it's about resetting and acquiring some really good draft capital where you can try to hit on some more players.
Talking about the Colts, trading away 2 first-round picks for a young cornerback in Sauce Gardner. What does that mean for Daniel Jones and what they see him in their future plans there in Indy? Is he the future in Indy?
Absolutely. I think that this move showed that. I think that the acquisition of Sauce Gardner showed 2 things specifically. One is that the Colts believe an addition like Sauce Gardner is going to be something that pays immediate dividends when it comes to not only the performance of the defense, but also the team at large. But number 2, which you're alluding to, is that the Colts are in win-now mode. They want to pursue Lombardi trophies this year, next year, and the year after that. And I think you can hypothesize accurately that potentially a Daniel Jones extension is coming down the line. This front office clearly feels comfortable with what he's been able to show through the first halfway point of his first season in Indianapolis. And I do got to credit Chris Ballard for this move in some way, because when you look at the Colts, the offense has been historically efficient. The defense, on the other hand, it's been kind of average, okay? They haven't been terrible, but they haven't been elite by any means. And when you start diving into some of the metrics, adding a cornerback or a star safety, someone in the secondary, made some sense, because the Colts rank 26th in pass defense this year. They're 29th in third down defense this season. They're last in passing yards per game allowed outside the numbers, and they're 26th in completion percentage allowed on throws of at least 20-plus air yards. So hopefully Sauce Gardner can come in and really improve some of those numbers and help the Colts become that legitimate contender that some view them as being.
This is Kevin Dyson, man. How you doing?
What's going on, Dr. Dyson? Good to talk to you, man.
You too, brother. We're talking about the teams that made moves, but we really haven't talked about those that are kind of on that cusp of really turning that corner, maybe potentially being that conversation for Super Bowl competitors. Is there any teams out there you're surprised that they didn't make anything happen over that last week or two?
There is one specifically, and that's the Detroit Lions. This is a team that a lot of people view as one of the best in the NFC. We understand that they were in the NFC Championship a couple of years ago, but for, the 100th straight season in a row, it almost feels like they have just suffered an incredible amount of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. So I imagined and I thought that Detroit would go out there and try to add a cornerback, a safety, maybe even a pass rusher to really beef up that side of the ball. Because we saw the Lions, they came off their bye week. They're hosting the Minnesota Vikings, a rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, who didn't look like an NFL quarterback through his first 2 career starts, by the way. And he went into Detroit and won that game. And I feel like that was some of the deficiencies on Detroit's defense really showing. So the Lions were one of those teams that I thought could have been more active at the trade deadline.
My last question is, we got some interim jobs throughout the NFL. We have some college jobs openings going on. What's kind of conversations you're hearing about this? The Lincoln Riley thing is kind of blowing up a little bit. Just kind of conversations you're hearing what's going on.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm kind of an agent of chaos. I would love the most entertaining candidate to choose the Titans job, whether that be Steve Sarkisian or Nick Saban or just someone ridiculous. I don't know if that would exactly be a right fit for the organization, what they're trying to do moving forward. And I don't necessarily cover the college football world as closely as I do the NFL. But, man, there are a lot of open jobs in college football. So I'm excited to see what this coaching carousel is going to look like. All those coaches who end up remaining with their teams, signing big-time extensions like Lane Kiffin potentially as well. So I feel like the coaching carousel, just in the football world in general, is going to be wild to watch this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Jordan DeJani of CBS Sports joining us on Cover 2. Jordan, let's hit on the Titans real quick. Are you surprised that they didn't make many moves at the deadline other than the Draymond Jones trade to the Ravens?
So they definitely made some moves. I guess to your point, they only made one this week.
True,
Jarvis Brownlee Jr., Roger McCreary, Draymond Jones. Yes, I actually was surprised. I would have put money down that at least one more move was coming down the wire. And the player that I was targeting as potentially being moved was actually wide receiver Calvin Ridley. I understand he's the number 1 wide receiver for Cameron Ward, but I think that this could have been a unique opportunity to sell him at the trade deadline to maybe another team that is in a different conference that was acquiring some pass catching ability, if you will. That did not come to fruition. And trust me, I'm sure that the Titans had conversations with a lot of different teams around the league that were picking around some of the scraps, whether that be Arden Key, whether that be, as I mentioned, Calvin Ridley. I'm sure teams were interested in Jeffrey Simmons as well. But the Titans simply were not going to get fleeced in a deal by moving off of an important starter just because they want to move on and acquire some extra draft capital. I was a fan of the Draymond Jones move. I think that the Titans got good compensation for his services. That certainly was not the case with Jarvis Brownlee. That wasn't exactly the case with Roger McCreary either. But to your question, I absolutely did expect another move to come to fruition, but it just did not.
What did you take from Mike Bergonzi's comments on why they traded Jarvis Brownlee Jr.? Bergonzi met with the media earlier this week following the trade deadline and basically said all but that he wasn't a culture fit here in Tennessee.
Well, first of all, was that the best Titans press conference we've seen in some time?
110%, Jordan.
Bergonzi came out. He came out without Chad Brinker. Wasn't that amazing? What a sight to see. That's what we've been waiting for. And Mike Bergonzi sounded great. And he was honest. I wouldn't call it brutally honest, but he was honest. And I feel like fans in this city have a better idea about the direction of the franchise in general. Now, speaking specifically on Jarvis Brownlee, listen, we could talk about this for 30 minutes. I know I could because I was very upset that he was moved off before the trade deadline. There were 2 players in my mind that I did not want Tennessee to trade, Jarvis Brownlee and T'Vondre Sweat. Jarvis Brownlee is already making an impact for the New York Jets, by the way, and he seems like he could potentially be one of these younger cornerstones for a rebuilding team. That's what I wanted him to be in Tennessee. Now, listen, if he was not a culture fit, and again, I think that Bergonzi was as honest as he possibly could be when speaking about maybe some of the habits or the mentality was not exactly conducive to the environment that we are trying to build. You can sit me down, Joseph, and convince me we can trade Jarvis Brownlee, but here's the thing. I want something in return that is worth it because we're talking about a young talent, a starter on a rookie deal that is already overplaying his draft position. I need something a little bit more than the worst possible draft pick swap you can offer. So that was my main sticking point with the Jarvis Brownlee trade. At the end of the day, we don't understand what's happening behind the scenes. I guess at some level you have to trust Mike Bergonzi in terms of the culture he is trying to implement with this new team, that moving Jarvis was in the best interest of the franchise. It's still something that is going to hurt some other Titans fans, such as myself, for some time.
All right, Jordan, let's take a look at some of the Week 10 storylines coming up. The 49ers, they are a team that have had some pretty good success despite the extensive injury list on that defensive side of the football, losing recently their rookie Mykel Williams with an ACL tear. What kind of job has Robert Saleh done up there with that defense? And do you think that the 49ers can sustain that through the rest of the year?
So I think Robert Saleh has done a tremendous job with some of these backup players that have turned starters with all the injuries going on in San Francisco. You lose Nick Bosa, you lose Fred Warner, you lose Malik as well. They're losing the war of attrition. So I think Robert Saleh has done a tremendous job up to this point. And I feel like the 49ers are a good enough team, especially on the offensive side of the ball, where they can defeat teams they should be able to defeat, but they're going to lose to legitimate contenders in the NFL. That's the way I view the 49ers moving forward right now. And they host the Los Angeles Rams this week. Of course, they got an upset victory over the Rams in LA a few weeks ago. That was a shocking game that ended in overtime. I feel like the Rams really do have revenge on their minds. Matthew Stafford is red hot. I think he's had 4 passing touchdowns in back-to-back games. He's a legitimate MVP candidate, in my opinion. So I think that the Rams are going to come out and unleash some fury on San Francisco. But to your point, I really do think we need to give the 49ers credit for not folding, because there are a lot of different teams around the NFL where you lose that many leaders and that much talent on both sides of the ball. It's about closing up shop for the rest of the season and having a fire sale at the trade deadline. The 49ers did not do that because they're well managed, they're well coached, and they still possess talent necessary.
One more team I want to take a look at, the Washington Commanders.
I was just about to say that.
Jaden Daniels out with the elbow injury, not as bad as they had initially thought with the dislocation. But do you think that their success window is starting to close faster than it opened, them being the oldest team in the league? The injuries that Jaden Daniels has had this year, and not only Daniels, but some of their stars like Terry McLaurin as well.
Yeah, you ask an interesting question, because anytime you have a legitimate franchise quarterback like Jaden Daniels, I think your Super Bowl window is quote-unquote open. Now, I'm shutting down shop for 2025. I'll tell you that right now. And it's not just because of the Daniels injury. I don't think the Daniels injury is the reason why Washington is staring down the barrel of a 3-7 start. I feel like it's the performance of Dan Quinn's defense, because this secondary cannot cover anybody. I think they've allowed touchdowns to tight ends in 3 straight games. They're getting absolutely roasted by wide receivers. We saw what happened against the Seattle Seahawks in primetime on Sunday night. And oh, by the way, they just lost Marshawn Lattimore for the rest of the season as well due to a knee injury. So I think that the Commanders, their issues are a lot deeper than keeping their quarterback healthy. I know that there are a lot of people out there trying to how do I put this? Jaden Daniels' mother came out on social media a few weeks ago and said, I'd like the fans to stop manifesting RG3 on my son. I don't think that the Jaden Daniels is going to be an RG3 case. I think that it's important to keep him healthy, and they've struggled to do that mightily this season. But you have to be excited about what you have at the quarterback position moving forward. It's about the infrastructure around him, and I'm specifically speaking about the defensive side of the ball moving forward. So it's going to be important what the Commanders do this offseason when it comes to acquiring talent on defense.
Yeah, since we're talking about teams and movement and trades, and we're at the midway point of the season, give me a couple teams on either conference, NFC, AFC, that we should keep our eye on, whether one that could potentially implode and one that we think, they can make a run here.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the NFC West has to be the most fascinating division in all of football. Which team is the best? The Seattle Seahawks or the Los Angeles Rams? I'll tell you right now, I have the Los Angeles Rams going to the Super Bowl. They're my preseason pick in the NFC at 6-2. I think they're a team that is really poised for a hot start to the second half of the season, as I talked about with this upcoming matchup against San Francisco. Another team I'm keeping a close eye on, and I have not made up my mind on them just yet, Dr. Dyson, but the 4-4 Minnesota Vikings. I thought they were going to get trounced by the Lions last week with J.J. McCarthy, but he came out and looked great, and he has a great arsenal of weapons to throw to. We understand how aggressive Brian Flores is with that defense as well. So right now, they're in last place in the NFC North, and I'm looking at teams like the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers, and the Detroit Lions, trying to figure out how good are they really? So I think the Minnesota Vikings are a team to keep an eye on.
I like that.
Hey, Jordan, Ross here. I guess we're going around the room. The AFC North with the Steelers leading it right now and the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, you do not have to make to win the division to make the playoffs, but who do you kind of see coming out of that division on top? Because the Ravens obviously have Lamar Jackson back and they got the Vikings, the Jets, and the Browns in the next three, I believe, and the Steelers' schedule gets significantly harder as the season goes with the Chargers, Bills, Lions. Both those teams play each other twice as well. Who do you kind of see taking the crown in the AFC North this year?
Yeah, it's really interesting that sportsbooks have the 3-5 Ravens being favored yet again to win the AFC North. And it seems like a lot of people are really quick to rule out the Pittsburgh Steelers. And to your point, their schedule definitely gets a lot tougher, and you have to wonder if Aaron Rodgers can continue to play ball at a decently high level. But the X factor when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers and them closing the deal and winning this division relies on the defensive side of the ball. I've made the argument on the show multiple times that this Mike Tomlin defense is not the old Mike Tomlin defense of old. They have really struggled when it comes to stopping the run and stopping the pass as well. But did they turn over a new leaf with that incredible performance against Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts, where they forced 6 turnovers? That was an incredible showing. They're moving Jalen Ramsey full-time to free safety. That defensive front is really getting after quarterbacks. I think they're going to score an upset win over the Los Angeles Chargers this week because of the deficiencies on Los Angeles' line. So I think we need to give the Steelers more credit for what they've accomplished thus far. But again, the X factor just has to do with the defense. If that defense can perform better than they did through the first half of the season, then I'm going to pick Pittsburgh to win this division.
Jordan, one more before we get out of here. The situation brewing down there in Phoenix, Arizona with the Cardinals. Kyler Murray being placed on IR after being said that it's close. He's coming back. Now Jacoby Brissett is QB1. What's going on, and is that marriage starting to crack down there between Kyler and the Cardinals?
Yeah, let me tell you, I don't know what's going on because after the Cowboys win, Jonathan Gannon comes out in front of reporters and says, when Kyler Murray's healthy, he's our starting quarterback. There's nothing I can add to that. That's just the bottom line. But then a couple days later, if not just 24 hours later, Gannon says that, okay, Jacoby Brissett's going to start this week. Kyler Murray's still trying to get healthy. And now all of a sudden, Kyler Murray's being placed on injured reserve. So, yeah, I absolutely do believe that this is the beginning of the end of the Kyler Murray era in Arizona. And there's no getting around the fact that Jacoby Brissett has played better than Kyler Murray. He's operating this offense more efficiently than Kyler Murray was. So I think it's smart for Arizona, who wants to win games, to move forward with Jacoby Brissett. Now, it's going to be interesting with what happens with Kyler Murray this upcoming offseason. I haven't looked at his contract. I need to see what the dead cap is and what happens with the financials if he's traded or released or whatever it may be. You would have to assume he's being traded. But I absolutely do believe that this is the beginning of the end of the Kyler Murray era.
Jordan, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the Week 10 of games. I know we here in Nashville are on a bye week, but over there at CBS Sports, you guys still have plenty of games to keep an eye on. I appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Barry.
All right, coming up next, I want to dive into a little trade drama that was being reported over the last week with the trade deadline coming in between the Titans and the Patriots. Whether or not the Titans refrained from trading a player to the Patriots because of a beef between Amy Adams-Strunk and Mike Vrabel. We'll talk about it next right here on Cover 2, brought to you by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Welcome back into Cover 2. I'm Joseph Bonanno. Alongside me, Dr. Kevin Dyson. We got Ross Johnston behind the glass, making the show run smoothly. What do you think about his song selection so far today?
He's on point. It's back-to-back. I've been here, man.
So, like Blaine every time says he wants some bass, so I try to get some instrumentals with some bass in there. So
I think he does a good job. I think he can moonlight as a DJ if he wanted to.
I've been impressed with the music selection, man.
I'll take calls. Y'all know where to find me.
All right, I want to get into this little drama thing that I teased coming up, or at the end of the last segment, that showed up at the end of the trade deadline. And it centers around the Titans and the Patriots. So the first where I saw this was Rachel Nichols went on The Herd, which is Colin Cowherd's show, and put out this report that this was the juiciest story of the NFL trade deadline, saying that the Titans reportedly wouldn't trade to the Patriots because the owner, Amy Adams Strunk, had ill will at the end of Coach Mike Vrabel's tenure here in Tennessee, and the Patriots are interested in running back Tony Pollard and edge rusher Arden Key, according to those reports. Now, a Patriots beat writer by the name of Ben Belford Peltzman quote tweeted that and added some insight into it, saying, according to sources around the league, the story stating that the Titans wouldn't trade with the Patriots is true, and I waited to post this until I heard from multiple people across different areas of the NFL. Several people confirmed that the Patriots were interested in running back Tony Pollard and edge rusher Arden Key in particular, but the Titans made it clear they wouldn't trade either player to New England. While this isn't a common occurrence, it's worth noting that the Patriots were looking to reunite some of Mike Vrabel's former players with the team. Now, here's my problem with that. Tony Pollard did not play under Mike Vrabel, and neither did Arden Key.
Exactly.
So I don't know how that was reuniting players with Mike Vrabel. And I don't think that an NFL owner, especially Amy Adams Strunk, who we know does not get too heavily involved in the football operation side of things, would step in and kill a trade if the trade had a pretty good value.
Yeah, benefit. And she fired Vrabel. He didn't just walk out, said, I'm done. And maybe there's some ill will I can see on the other side where Vrabel didn't help her cause, but it doesn't add up for me from my perspective. But again, money talks, I guess.
So Arden Key did play Mike Vrabel. I'm mistaken on that. That was right. Ran Carthon signed him in this first offseason. That was Vrabel's last season here. Arden played and has been here ever since. But Tony Pollard, not a Mike Vrabel thing. And I know the Patriots were interested in a running back because Ramondre Stevenson has been hurt, and Mike Vrabel. A lot of Patriots fans have been very reluctant or angry at Mike Vrabel for his reluctance to play the rookie Trayvon Henderson out of Ohio State, and so I was a little surprised the Patriots didn't make a move at the trade deadline for a running back. Maybe Tony Pollard was the running back that they were looking for.
I can see that.
And maybe they just didn't offer the value that the Titans deemed was good enough to get rid of a guy who is there to help a rookie quarterback. But this whole nonsense that Amy Adams Strunk stepped in and was like, no, we're not trading with the Patriots because I don't like Mike Vrabel. She fired Mike Vrabel. Just because he had a bad end of his tenure here does not mean that there's any ill will between her. Now, yes, did she want to lose to Mike Vrabel when the Patriots came here? No. But what owner wants to lose?
Right. And she's a competitor like most everybody else. And I think part of that, I think she did have a unique relationship with Mike even during his time here, but it became business. And at that time, his trajectory wasn't going in the right direction because of how things were transpiring and the losses were starting to add up more so than the wins. She made a business move. I like to believe that an owner, whether they're highly involved or not, would not nix a trade just out of spite if it would help your franchise. And I don't know. But again, it's their prerogative, right? It's their teams. But I would not make that assumption that a owner would do something detrimental to their product, their team, just out of spite.
Especially since what we've heard from Mike Bergonzi and Chad Brinker in this front office since they've been put together over the last year is that the fact that they want to build through the draft, and they want to draft players and develop players and build a homegrown team. Why in the world, if that is the direction that this franchise is headed, and if we trust Mike Borgonzi to do that, he's going to accumulate draft picks. We saw it with them trading Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who they didn't deem as a culture fit. So what did they do? They got whatever value they thought that they could out of Jarvis Brownlee. Whether you agree with that value or not, they got some value. They traded Roger McCreary, who they probably weren't going to sign at the end of the year. So what did they do? They went out and got some value. Same thing with Draymond Jones. They traded him at the deadline because they wanted to get some more draft picks. Why in the world would the owner all of a sudden step in and say, "Oh, you can't get draft picks for a player that's pretty good, that could make a contribution to the Patriots and probably get some good return if the return was good enough."
Yeah.
Why would she step in and kill their whole plan?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Now,
I may ask, though, she may have stopped a trade prior to playing them. There might have been something they were working out, and then maybe the perception was, oh, she's not willing to work with us. But because I've seen teams make moves prior to playing to gain an advantage or what have you, or they sign a player out the practice squad the week before they're playing somebody or doing things like that. Because I'm trying to find a scenario where Amy Adams would nix anything that would benefit her franchise.
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Like it really doesn't. And listen, I know a lot of Titans fans are angry with the ownership and with the front office now because you haven't seen a winning product on the field in a while. And that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. As a consumer of the Tennessee Titans, you want winners on the field.
Right.
You want championships, and you haven't gotten that so far. So it's okay to be angry at the ownership and at the franchise.
I got you.
But it makes no sense on why the owner would step in and deter that and make that anger grow even more and actually feed into and give real reasons why they would be. It makes no sense.
Yeah. And again, she let him go.
That's true.
I don't. So it'd be different if it was some kind of bitter rivalry in division rivalry, something. But it just doesn't make sense to me. But he says he's got multiple sources. Didn't post it until he heard from a few more. So some legitimacy behind it. But my personal opinion is I don't see it.
And you know, the other thing could have been that they just didn't want to trade Pollard. I mean, he's still under contract for 2026. He becomes an unrestricted free agent in 2027. Maybe they see Pollard as a player that can help Cam Ward develop. I know that because they didn't trade a lot of their offensive pieces that maybe a lot of people thought, like a Calvin Ridley or a Chig Okonkwo or a Tony Pollard, that they are in the business of keeping and retaining the talent that they feel that Cam Ward is going to be able to use in order to develop into a starting NFL quarterback in this league.
Well, I think just for Pollard's sake, I'll just use him for an example. I think there's obviously some value in him. They probably could have gotten something. How much, who knows? And maybe this whole thing with the Patriots was about that, more or less about the value where Titans felt his value was in regards to the trade versus what that was being offered. But to your point of keeping pieces around him, letting go somebody like Pollard now puts the onus on ball carrying and everything else on guys that don't necessarily, one, health is concerned for the guys behind him. Two, experience for the guys behind him. When I talk about that, I'm talking about blitz pickups, routes, all the different things that he has that. Yeah, Tajay is he's a veteran now, if you will, but we got the health things, right? Not a knock on him because when he's in there and he's healthy, he's good.
Electric.
He's a good football player. But again, I'm sure the team is taking that consideration, the health concern. So if you're going to split that up and send Pollard somewhere, I think his value goes up a little bit more for what the team is willing to take for that. But going back to the original conversation, I just don't understand why Amy Adams would step in and say they bring her, Borgonzi and them, they bring her, they say, hey, here's what they're offering. She's like, heck no, Mike's over there. Nope. Regardless.
That's bad business.
Yeah.
That is bad business if I were Mike Borgonzi or Chad Brinker, obviously if she did do that, you would kind of have to listen to her.
You have to. She writes the checks.
But that would, I think that would, if that were to happen, that would influence the trust that they have in that front office.
Yeah.
To be able to do their jobs. I feel like they wouldn't feel like they have the trust from the ownership to do what's right and to get the value when they're making these trades. So,
and I think that happens some. I think there are owners that step in, especially again, it's their product, it's their organization, is bottom line. And I think there's times when he's like, no, we're not doing that. I don't want to make that move yet. I really want him. Like, they may have a favorite player that they don't want to see go put on another uniform. They absolutely fall and get enamored with players too, part of the organization. They get to know people, even though they're writing checks for the most part, but they get to familiar just like a fan would, like we do of good football players. You don't like to see somebody like a Derrick Henry have to go towards the end of his career. But we understand as business, those type of things happen. So but even with that, I don't think owners make this business moves just to be spiteful, because at the end of the day, they are a for-profit business and they need that profit. So if I have something that could help me over a long period of time, the longevity of my organization, I like to believe a smart business person would make that decision based on logic, not spite. But who knows? And again, we're living in an era of information that's just doesn't even have to be verified.
Nope.
You can just throw it out there.
You just throw it out there as soon as you hear it.
And see what happens. It's like the spaghetti to the wall effect. It's just throw it out there, see what happens. And I don't know how many likes, follows, reposts he got for that, but it obviously it's gotten around enough that it's a conversation that's being had.
All right, coming up next in the second hour, we're going to take a look at the college football weekend. Maybe some playoff indication games coming up.
Utes. That's all you need to know.
We'll ask you about the Utah Utes, and that's coming up next right here on Cover 2, sponsored by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
Parents, when your teen athletes get injured, every practice miss matters. So don't let an injury sideline you for the season or your dreams. Introducing the Edge Athlete Recovery Program, a 2-month, twice daily sublingual peptide protocol designed to help your athlete heal faster, recover stronger, and get back on the field safely. Our science-backed peptides BPC 157 and TB 500 support muscle, tendon, and ligament repair with no needles, no downtime, and no hassle. Safe for teens, non-GMO, gluten-free, and easy to take home. Optional add-ons include M-Scope, functional sessions, and regenerative orthopedic treatments to accelerate recovery even more. So don't wait. Give your athlete the best shot at a full return to sports. All you have to do is just call Edge Peptide Therapy at 615-724-1878, or you can visit them at edgepeptide.com to schedule an office consultation today. Edge Peptide Therapy knows every game, every practice, and every dream matters.
Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Ross Johnston. The Titans and the Vols are both on byes this weekend. The Titans will host the Houston Texans next Sunday at Nissan Stadium with kickoff set for 12 p.m. Central, and the Vols will host New Mexico State next Saturday with kickoff set for 3:15 p.m. Central. Number 15 ranked Vanderbilt does play tomorrow as they host the unranked Auburn Tigers in Nashville with kickoff set for 3 p.m. Vanderbilt has 2 losses on the year and is fighting the rest of the regular season for their playoff lives. In 2 pieces of important NFL news, the Indianapolis Colts have placed defensive tackle DeForest Buckner on injured reserve, which will sideline him for the next 4 games as he is dealing with a neck injury. And Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels is not expected to be placed on IR. Ian Rappaport reports that the medical opinions on his elbow aren't as bad as intended, and he will be reevaluated in the bye week. Lastly, in college hoops, the Vols host Northern Kentucky tomorrow with tip set for 2 p.m. Central at Food City Center. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 here on 104.5 The Zone, hour number 2. I'm Joe Spinano, not Zach Lyons. Across from me is Dr. Kevin Dyson, rolling here on a Friday before a Titans and Vols bye week. We are in the 104.5 The Zone Circus Sports Studios. Kentucky's largest sports book can be found at Circus Sports at Kentucky Downs. Dr. Dyson, college football this weekend with no Vols. Maybe some people around here aren't paying attention, but there are some pretty good games and some playoff implication games if we look at the schedule. And I know a big one that you got your eye on because it affects maybe a team that you like more than some people around here would like. But number 7 BYU at number 8 Texas Tech. Texas Tech a 10.5-point favorite. What are you looking at in this game right here?
Well, I want to see how BYU's offense, especially with a young quarterback, handles that pressure, that defense. That's going to be interesting going to Lubbock. If it's in BYU, I'd hate to say it, I have to pick BYU. All my BYU buddies listening to me right now, that's the one time you hear that. And I think being in Lubbock, Texas Tech defense, I think that pressure is going to get to them a little bit. I think they're going to win it. What
do you think of that true freshman quarterback that BYU throws out there?
I got a bird's eye view of when they played Utah. What I like about him is his demeanor is unwavering. He doesn't get rattled. You know, he's taking late hits and gets right back up and going. I mean, his poise and his leadership, I wouldn't have thought, if I didn't know any different, that he was just a true freshman. He's got that team believing in him. They're playing for him, and that tells you a lot about him as a person. When you got a veteran team like that, guys that were kind of poised to make this move anyway, and you got a young quarterback like that, that tells you what you need to know. They believe in him.
Number 3, Texas A&M at number 22, Missouri.
That's a trap one.
So you think it's a trap game for Texas A&M?
I think A&M is a better football team, but Missouri's not no slouch now, man. They're a good football team,
even with their backup freshman quarterback in there?
Who, if you watched him that last drive against Vanderbilt, he didn't necessarily perform like a rookie either, or a freshman either. But experience is another thing, and Texas A&M is another one of those high-pressure type defenses. Anytime you go anywhere on the road, travel, the unknowns are how your body responds, how your players are going to respond to that. Are they adjusted? The atmosphere, the noise. There's those factors. If you can handle all those things well, which you got a veteran team in Texas A&M, I'm assuming they will. But that's one of those games. Missouri's not no slouch, man.
Texas A&M a 6.5-point favorite in that one. One trend that we talked about yesterday with Texas A&M: 3 games on the road this season. They haven't scored less than 41 points as an offense. However, all 3 games have been 1-score games. So Notre Dame was a 42-41 game. I think they won by a field goal against Arkansas. And then LSU was the other road game that they scored 40 plus and they whooped the crap out of LSU.
Yeah.
So that one wasn't close. But the other two against a respectable Notre Dame team, which you could say respectable. Some people would disagree with that. They are number 10 in the college football playoff rankings as of the first one from this week. So I really like Marcel Reed. I think he's the most underrated quarterback in the SEC. I feel like not enough people are talking about him, especially for that Heisman conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like Diego Pavia is getting a lot of the Heisman talk. Him and Ty Simpson here in the SEC. I think Marcel Reed needs to be up there and talk just as much as those two guys.
Yeah, I think he's in that conversation, but not boldly enough. I think he's a talent. He's over the last 3 years. This has been 3 or 4 with him. But anyway, either way, he's just been a pillar of consistency and explosiveness. Love watching him play. And definitely, if you're top 5, top 2 or 3 team, which they are, you'd be interested for his name to be in that conversation. But I also understand what my man here in Vanderbilt, Pavia, that's just like you've got to put him in that conversation. I mean, he's kind of got that Manziel aura around it where his teammates just love being a part of his team and being around him. He's making the guys around him better just because of how he goes about business. You know, I think it definitely warrants opportunity for him to be down in New York here in a few weeks.
Yeah, his stats may not be the most eye-popping, but I think what him and Clark Lee have done to change not only the success at Vanderbilt, but just the overall culture.
Yeah.
I mean, look at their trenches. When's the last time you remember Vanderbilt having an offensive line that can push other SEC defensive lines around,
Yeah.
or a defensive line that can get to the quarterback consistently?
Yeah.
That is something Clark Lee has built, but then having the Diego Pavia to lead the offense is just a whole nother thing. And he has done such a good job. As much as a Tennessee fan, as much as I hate that Vanderbilt, I hate that Vanderbilt has a good quarterback. I hate that because I shouldn't hate on Vanderbilt because they've been Tennessee's little brother. But for some reason, Vanderbilt has just worked their way under Clark Lee and Diego Pavia into just being this little like thorn in everybody's sides in the SEC now and making people look down and be like, oh, okay, we need to acknowledge that because they could be for real.
Yeah. When's the last time they had excitement like that down on West End? When James Franklin was here?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And even they didn't reach the heights that they're in right now. Top 10 team, really a slow start away from being in the playoff conversation right now, being a top 5 team. Had they not got that slow start at Texas, I felt like they were the better team. They just started slow and had a lot to overcome.
Yep.
And truth be told, a turnover or 2 away in Alabama might be a different kind of conversation for them as well. So we could be talking about them as a top 5 team if that's the case. But but it's exciting, I think, for especially for the area, Nashville, and to still have somebody in the state of Tennessee in the playoff, being relevant in the playoff search, and it not be the Vols is also interesting and fun.
Well, speaking of that Vanderbilt game, Auburn heading to number 16 Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt a 6.5 point favorite in that game. Now, yesterday I picked this as my upset to watch, and not because I hate Vanderbilt.
Even now that the coach is gone,
that is part of the reason why I picked it. I think that Auburn is finally going to get some. They're going to get in sync, and what I mean by that is, I don't know if you saw the story earlier in the season about the Auburn play calling situation where there's a guy for first downs and then another guy for second downs and another guy for third downs and who's calling fourth downs and Hugh Freeze, where do you fit in all this? But DJ Durkin, the interim head coach for Auburn, has come in and he has said, we have one play caller for the offense, and that's his job. He's going to call all plays, all downs. That's his job. He's the play caller. On top of that, I think they're going to get their quarterback situation worked out. I think they're going to go with a guy that is going to give them the best chance to win. And unfortunately for Auburn, that is not Jackson Arnold, the guy that they spend a lot of money on in the transfer portal. But I think that's going to be a good thing because I think they're going to be able to get Cam Coleman a little bit more involved. Now, there's some reports about him wanting to enter the transfer portal after this year, which he might. But Auburn's going to do what they can to make him happy, and feeding him the football is one way to make that guy happy.
Yeah.
And the other thing, Auburn's defense, one of the best in the country. They're one of 3
Yeah.
teams that haven't allowed more than 24 points. The other 2, Ohio State and Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Vanderbilt, they've got a good team, right? I just talked about good offensive line. They have a good defensive line. But I don't think their offense is high-powered enough to straight out beat that Auburn defense.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need to rely on a Auburn offense that has been struggling and their defense to maybe make some flash plays on that side of the ball. And they're going to have to play smart physical football on the offensive side.
When I say this about Vanderbilt, and in particular with this game, it kind of fits the Vanderbilt mold. Vanderbilt doesn't want to get in those track meets anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They would rather win the game 24-12, whatever.
Exactly.
So this kind of fits what they have been doing of recent anyway. I think there's more to personality. I think they're a team that has shown they can put up points, but they're playing solid defense and keeping the scoring down to a minimum. But they've also shown the ability to rally and come back as well. So I fully expect them to take over this game at some point and really flex their muscles. Now, like you said, I can see the upset because sometimes, as Zach says, you get that play bump with the interim coach, so to speak.
I think they're 7-1 against the spread.
Yeah.
The interim head coaches this year.
And again, they are one of the top scoring defenses in the league and all that kind of stuff. But I also believe Vanderbilt is an underrated defense for some of the things. They've had probably one of the tougher schedules already who they've played. They've gone to Tuscaloosa. They've gone to Austin. Now they're going to Auburn. So they got a tough road schedule. And yet they're still right here lingering around in that playoff conversation. So I'm still pulling for Vanderbilt. I still got it.
At DP5707 in the chat says, so if Vandy wins, are they going to be given the credit of beating such a good Auburn team? I never said this Auburn team was good. I said their defense was good. Their offense is one of the worst in the country.
Yeah.
Their offense is still one of the worst in the country. But an interim head coach bump, it's a game that actually suits both teams, a defensive game that is slow scoring. I'm not saying that Auburn is going to get the upset. I say that is my upset watch. That is the one I think is most likely to happen in the SEC.
For all the things you just said is why I picked Vanderbilt. That seems to fit. They're a little better at that game.
I do agree. They definitely are better at that than Auburn, and they proved it this year.
Yeah.
Just a couple more before we get to a break here. Number 9, Oregon at number 20, Iowa. Oregon already have a loss on the season. A second loss could hurt them. Now, they are a 6.5-point favorite. An Iowa team who's got a better offense than they've seen in recent years. But they're known for their defense. Oregon, maybe a little bit of a slip there against Indiana, but otherwise a pretty solid team this year. What you thinking there?
You say a little bit of slip. Oregon, Indiana kind of put that on them a little bit. So,
a little bit of a slip.
It's kind of hard for people to give Indiana the credit they deserve and how they're playing people. But Oregon, I think, is going to be interesting throughout the rest of the year. I don't know who they have that would scare them going forward for the rest of this year. I think they have, they got USC and Washington. Those both can be some significant games.
That's at Washington.
And it's at
that
Washington,
final game of the season.
And so that could be interesting for them too. So they're also still in that conversation with that one loss. That one loss is pretty significant. It's number 2 team in the country. And they still got to get through Ohio State at some point. They're going to have to meet them up, right?
Well, maybe not. Maybe Indiana. I think Indiana and Ohio State are going to meet each other in that. So I think Oregon's going to slip out without having to see Ohio State, which with this whole playoff thing, not playing in a conference championship can actually really end up helping some of these teams.
Yeah.
Could really end up helping some of these teams. And it's going to be interesting to see what that committee does when taking into account these conference championships in terms of that third loss. If it's a 2-loss team that gets to a conference championship, how much that third loss affects their playoff standing, or how much even that second loss or first loss affects where they're seated in the playoffs, which will be an interesting conversation.
Well, and Indiana, again, I'm going to get on the Indiana show, but they didn't really have nobody left for the regular season, right? So Oregon, they got a tough road ahead. I think they still get in that conversation, but that one loss against Indiana, that's not even a blemish at this point. That's like, okay, we didn't think Indiana was going to be this good, and now they got a Heisman, if not the front runner, definitely in that conversation, top 2, 3 as far as the Heisman race is concerned.
And look at some of the other games in the SEC coming up on Saturday. LSU at number 4, Alabama. Alabama, a 10.5-point favorite. Number 5, Georgia, a
That's
9.
my upset. Right there.
LSU
upset
over,
watch.
LSU over
I
Alabama.
didn't say it's going to happen.
Upset
LSU,
watch.
Upset watch.
Okay. I've heard that Kalen DeBoer off a bye week is better than Nick Saban. That's what we heard yesterday. So just keep an eye. We had a guest, Chris Phillips from SEC Unfiltered, joined us yesterday and said that he thinks Kalen DeBoer is, after a bye week, Kalen DeBoer after a bye week is better coach than Nick Saban.
It's interesting.
He was talking about the black hoodie, too.
Yeah, and the black hoodie. Wearing the black hoodies. Prepping for a funeral.
Not too many things people are better than the Saban at, but it's,
Number 5, Georgia, 9.5-point favorite over Mississippi State. I know a lot of people are having their eye on that one. Georgia, maybe not the best Georgia team in recent years, just a lot really disciplined under Kirby Smart. Mississippi State got their first win in the SEC last week against Arkansas, so maybe they're showing some momentum there. And then finally, Florida at Kentucky. Florida, a 3.5-point favorite. I don't know if you've seen that injury report. It is about a mile long for Florida, and Kentucky's got some good names on there too. So that was
both
Zach's.
Of them are in flux right now from leadership.
That was Zach's upset pick of the week. So it should be a fun week, even though the Vols aren't playing. I guess I'll go and watch Vanderbilt and play Auburn. So we'll see what happens with Diego Pavia. No Hugh Freeze there for him to beat this time.
I know. That's what I've said. Again, to your point, this is prime for an upset just because you get that new coach bump and who knows what's going on. It didn't work so well for LSU.
No, it did not.
So
we'll
see. But I'm still pulling for Vanderbilt. But who you got this week? Is there any other game that you're sitting there like, I'm going with Texas Tech. That's sorry, BYU. I said, but if they can handle the pressure, I wouldn't be surprised BYU comes out of there with the win.
I mean, really, maybe Mississippi State over Georgia. I don't want to see it, or I do want to see it. I would love to see Georgia lose. Let me put that. I don't know if I can see it but I've seen that Mississippi State team. I know what they can do. It's whether or not they actually put it all together because some of their losses, it's just been at the end of games where they've just crumbled. Texas, Tennessee, Florida. Like if they could just play a complete game, I think that they could.
Different type season.
It would be a so different type season for them. So, all right. When we come back, we're going to head to a break. When we come back, I'm going to get your thoughts on these rookie wide receivers that are excelling for the Titans right now. I pulled some numbers on Io Manor and Chimdike, and you guys don't understand the season that Chimere Dike is having. We'll talk about it next here on Cover 2, sponsored by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Cover 2, here, hour number 2. I'm Joseph Bonanno. Alongside me is Dr. Kevin Dyson, one of the most well-known wide receivers in Titans franchise history. And because of that, I think you're pretty qualified to talk about these rookie wide receivers that are excelling for the Titans so far. A couple fourth-round picks in Alec Iomanner and Chimere Dike. Just some numbers for you real quick before we get into what you've seen from them. Iomanner, on 53 targets this season, has 26 receptions for 323 yards and 2 touchdowns.
How many targets?
53.
Okay.
So 26 catches on 53 targets. He's got 4 drops. I think that's kind of one of the big things that was on his con side, I guess, coming out of the draft is the drop issues. And they've shown up a little bit here. He's also got 20 first down catches of his 26, according to Pro Football Reference, which I thought, when I saw that, I was like, wow. So a very reliable target for Cam Ward in moving the sticks. Looking at Chimere Dike. Now, the receiver numbers are what they are. It's the returner numbers that are eye-popping. So, Chimere Dike, 33 targets, 21 receptions, 194 yards, and a couple of a touchdown. He's got 0 drops, and he has 106 yak yards out of the 194 reception yards. That's 54.6% of his reception yards are after the catch. Now, here's where it gets eye-popping. He's got 10 punt returns for 195 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown scored last week against the Chargers. He's got 42 kick returns for 1,108 yards, averaging 26.4 per kick. He's already got the 10th best returner season in franchise history in terms of yards. He has 1,514 all-purpose yards currently, on pace to have 2,860, which would absolutely crush the NFL record for all time by a rookie of 23-17 by Tim Brown, who did it in 16 games in 1988. The other thing he's on pace to break is Mark Mariani's return record, the amount of return yards he has in a season, and Derek Mason's franchise record of 690 all-purpose yards that he scored in 2000 when you were on the team.
Mm-hmm. That was Mason's breakout year.
Yes, it was. So what have you seen from these two rookie wide receivers? Where have they excelled the most, in your opinion?
Well, I think there's a little bit of difference. We're talking about DK. He's excelling in a way with that ball in his hands I don't think we anticipated, whether it be in the kicking game or like you talk about run after catch. And I think that has been beneficial, not only just to Cam, but to the team in a sense of the direction you want to go next year. Iomanner is kind of one of those hit and miss. He's kind of and I said if he has the same kind of career as Mike Williams down in Tampa, then that's what he reminds me of that. Not a burner. Mike Evans. Mike Williams. This is the whole nother receiver. Mike Evans, excuse me. He's not a burner. He's not necessarily just going to run by you with his 4.2 speed or anything like that. But he is a vertical threat, a guy that's big body. He's going to move the chains and things of that nature. And you like that. And what we've been saying on Sundays is if you're talking about positive outlooks on this team and the things going forward, you have found some young guys that are getting invaluable experience this year, whether it be for injuries or just need. They're getting all this experience, and it's going to help them as they start to grow from year to year, from season to season. And this year, that young group, and you got those tight ends in there as well. I think Gunner is also one of these young pass catchers that's helped Cam in tight spots. He's made tight catches. He's become more and more reliable and used. So I think going forward, if you're looking for anything of positivity going forward, I think as a franchise, you're like, okay, we got some young guys. Now, how can we complement them going as we build this thing out?
What about Chim's role in this offense? It started to grow since a couple of injuries and the Tyler Lockett release a few weeks ago. Where do you see him growing in this offense and his relationship with Cam Ward going? Oh,
I think that's two different questions because we're not necessarily sure what the offense is going to look like in 26 yet. We're not exactly sure. So now it really is about that relationship with Cam. and more often than not, if you're able to be with a quarterback over an extended period of time, there comes a level of trust that you have on certain situations. You know, for example, a quarterback will trust you he's going to throw it outside when he probably shouldn't have. He's going to trust that he's going to give you a chance to make a play or at least make it incomplete, and he'll give you the opportunity. And I think that is what they're building, is this rapport, this trust. And also, whether we want to admit it or not, we move different on game day than we do in practice. You go full speed in practice, but it's a different type of speed when you get into games, and everybody's flying around a little bit different. And there becomes that familiarity and trust that they're building going forward through 25, leading into 26.
Where do you think they need to improve the most in terms of their roles as wide receiver? Because I think Chimere Dike has settled himself as one of the better returners in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now, he's still got some stuff to learn and still got some stuff to work out, but right now, what he's doing as a returner is unbelievable. I really think that he has a chance to become an all-pro at the end of the year if he continues on this pace at returner. Too. I mean, especially if he breaks that the all-purpose yards record by Tim Brown. Again, on pace for 2,860 all-purpose yards, and he's only got 194 reception yards right now. All those are coming from the return game. And now, I know that's a little inflated, one, because of the 17 games, two, because of the new kickoff rules. But he didn't make the rules. He's just playing in them. And he is taking advantage of every second of it. So, in terms of Chimere Dike and El Guyerman as the receivers, where do you think each need to improve the most as we continue to go throughout this rookie season?
Well, I think every receiver, every year, you got to continue to improve on your route running, get separation, understand your body mechanics and utilizing your body in tight spaces when you got these DBs and safeties and as fast, as quick, as athletic as they are. They got to get better at that. And understanding timing and making yourself available for the quarterback, that stuff comes with experience. I think complementing each other, and depending on what they do with Ridley, because they got to complement each other a little bit. You know, understand each other's body language and concepts. You know, I can look at one side and say, "Oh, I know what Mace is thinking about," and I can kind of work on my route this sort of way. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But what you like about the young too is they are getting better week to week. You haven't seen so much of a drop off. Al Manny could say he's had a couple drops, as you mentioned, in depending on circumstances and situation that have been like he could have had a first down last week. He had that drop early in the game and things like that. But for the most part, man, you got to be pleased with the progression and where they're at this point in career, especially DK. I think if you would have said he was going to be in the top 10 in all-purpose yards, you'd like that was a win, not necessarily leading out by a big margin. And I think that's where you're like, okay, we got some young guys that what can we do to complement them going forward?
Now, Firebringer in the F&M Bank chat, you can watch on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, says he wants them not to be mid, which they are now as receivers. Well, Firebringer, they are rookies. They were drafted in the 4th round, and I'm pretty sure that Chimere Dike was not supposed to be getting this much play at wide receiver, considering you thought you had Calvin Ridley and Tyler Lockett there to help him. Plus, you signed Van Jefferson in the offseason as well. Yeah. So, a lot of his value comes from the return game. What you get, I feel like, and I feel like that's one of the big reasons that the Titans took a swing on him that early in the 4th round. They liked his speed. They felt like, okay, maybe he could give us an element of speed on the offense, but what Chimere Dike is going to do early on, at least, is benefit us in the return game, which he has. That is a return on investment times 10 that they have gotten, and it worked out. Now, that he's had success there, and not saying that this is all the success that he will have, or that this is this is the cap on his success as a returner, but because he has already seen that success as a returner, I feel like he can focus a little bit more on polishing himself as a wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's going to come in the offseason too. But, you know, I think his success, and I think you said it great. I think the expectation was we just get something out of our return game with them, and we'll use him I'm gonna say with gimmicks, like reverses, some screens.
Which they do, which they use him.
And I thought that might have been kind of the expectation going forward, and then build upon that. But he was going to be their return guy. We saw that early on in the preseason and everything else. But to get that added value, where he's been able to get vertical on a couple things, where I say vertical, whether it be deep crossers or what have you, and he's been able to make plays that way, I think that was just an unexpected bonus that they got out of him, that production. But his true value has come from this return game, and getting that punt return the other day was even.
I know that unlocks some. I know he just because he already had one taken off the board due to a penalty. He had a touchdown taken off the board due to penalty. Like he was due for something big like that. And I'm very glad that he actually got his punt return, and I'm excited to see what he continues to do as he gets more opportunities.
Yeah, I'm curious what the data says on him. How many rookie return men end up being Pro Bowlers and All Pros in that rookie season?
I can't imagine there's a ton.
There's not.
I can't imagine.
I'd have one or the other, but I don't know if you.
I'd have to look it up, but he's definitely got an opportunity to get both a Pro Bowl and an All Pro if he continues on the pace that he's on. All right. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the show on a Friday here. We'll wrap up the week. I want to take a look at what we want to see from the Titans after this bye week.
Yeah.
We've already seen the first half of the season. It's gone. Whatever. It's gone. First 9 weeks.
What'd you say? Thank goodness?
Some people would. So when we come back, the Titans have 8 games left.
Yeah.
Let's see what they can do with them. Yeah, 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 8 games left. We'll see what they can do with them. We'll come back. 104.5 The Zone. This is Cover 2, sponsored by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
Let's face it, buying a vehicle should be straightforward and stress-free, and that's exactly how Two Rivers Ford has been doing business for decades. This locally owned dealership has a non-commissioned sales team whose only focus is to find you the right vehicle at the right price without the pressure. So you'll actually have a fun car buying experience. Great prices, easy financing, and a non-commissioned sales team. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, and Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
One of the largest sports books east of the Mississippi, Circa Sports Kentucky, is now open. Catch all your favorite games on an 80-foot screen with stadium-style seating and live VSiN broadcast daily. Circa Sports, now open at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
My dad and I used to golf together all the time, but when he hurt his back, it was over.
To have your son want to spend time with you is amazing. That's why my chronic back pain has been so heartbreaking. Surgery, fused bones, long recovery. No way, not for me. A friend recommended stem cells, so I gave Kellum Stem Cell Institute a call.
I'm glad you're out on the course.
Yeah, it's really good.
Call the Kellum Stem Cell Institute today. Swing still looks just okay though.
Welcome back into Cover 2, the final segment on this Friday show. I hope you guys enjoyed us with no Zach Lyons and no Blaine Bishop. Dr. Kevin Dyson and I rolling along. Ross just killing it with the music today.
Man.
Killing it. Ross, congratulations.
That's what I do,
you
man.
did awesome.
Zach's also been sending me plenty of pictures to update us on his fish catching
What's
today.
his fish count?
He's 3 for 3 right now.
Wow, look at Zach. 3 for 3 in the mysterious places that he's fishing. He doesn't want anybody to know his fishing hole, which is respectable. If I had a fine fishing hole, I wouldn't tell anybody where I'm going because I don't want anybody to steal my fish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, all right. We talked about the rookie wide receivers last segment and how much of an impact they've made. And you and I were talking during the break, Kevin, and did you know that Alec Ayumander, Chimere Dike, and Gunnar Helm are 3 of the top 4 in receptions on this team? 3 fourth-round rookies are top 4 in receptions for the Tennessee Titans.
So 75% of your production is coming from
or fourth-round rookies.
Fourth-round rookies.
And a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, that is... Listen, Mike Berganzi, the move made with Dan Moore, paying him all that money, the trading Jarvis Brownlee, trading Roger McCreary, whatever. He killed that draft. I'm sorry. He absolutely killed the draft. And if that's if this is the bar for the drafts we have looking forward, I think Mike Berganzi is. Now, I'm not gonna say he's going to rebuild because we don't know. We don't know. He could miss the next 10 picks like John Robinson did when he was here, where he missed 3 straight drafts in a row. But if this is the bar, I think Titans fans should be extremely excited about what kind of value that this front office can find in the draft. Going off of that, what do we want to see from the Titans after this bye week? So they've already played 9 games. They're 1-8.
Yeah.
Playoffs are probably out. What are some of the things that you want to see from this team moving forward in terms of development of these rookies, development of the quarterback, and maybe what they should put on tape for the next coaching staff?
Yeah. In a hard season, you always looking for silver linings. And we just talked about them, or you just did rather, just talked about there's 4 bright spots on offense in particular, a silver lining. You've been able to find some quality pass catchers, some depth, and that you didn't necessarily know you had. We know you had Calvin Ridley, and then you got Lockett and Jefferson, so you got some veterans come in, but then you get these rookies, and they end up being, and I don't want to say this, no disrespect, being better than you probably expected them. Maybe not this soon. You see what they can do, give them some reps, give them experience, and maybe they assume it's going to be at this level. But I don't know if the casual fan, if we thought they were going to be this much accounted for this team. And that's a pleasant surprise. And so coming out of the bye week, you just want to see those guys continue to get better and develop, become, and build that rapport with Cam, giving us a glimpse of what is the potential for the years to come. What these guys specifically on offense are able to contribute. That does not mean they're still not going to be looking at different ways to elevate the offense, whether it be another tight end or a pass catcher, receiver. But at least right now, what you see, it lends yourself to be excited about the future with the young core of skill guys that they have.
Ross, what are you looking for from the Titans after this bye week?
Really just continued growth of the young guys, and again, I would like to see them come out and potentially get a win over Houston. I mean, I know Houston's had our number in Nashville for the past little bit, but this is certainly a beatable Houston team. They might not even have C.J. Stroud. I know everybody looks at draft picks, and I understand it, but I am sort of an optimist and always just in the camp of win now, try to win games, because I think that as an athlete, that can raise your confidence level even more and, make it feel like it means something a little more than if you were losing every week. It's hard to feel excited about things all the time. But I would like to see them, if they can finish the season with 4 wins somehow, I would love that, because I think it'd be great for the guys. I'd love it for them. And I think it would be a good springboard into a new head coach and a new era of Titans football.
I think the most important thing for this team is the development of Cam Ward. I don't think he goes by Cameron anymore. I don't know where that came from. The development of Cam Ward. And because if you are going to invest what you invested in him and draft him with the number 1 overall pick, and you're not going to trade away those pass rushers, those offensive weapons, those pass catchers, because you truly believe that they are the biggest benefit to his development as a rookie. In a year where his head coach got fired and there's an interim and they've changed play callers and all this stuff, I think that the Titans need to go out there and they need to play to Cam Ward's development. And what I mean by that is I think when they get in situations where maybe they can be a little bit more aggressive, I think they need to try and take advantage of those opportunities. Now, Mike McCoy already said that he was pretty regretful when they didn't take some advantage of some of those a few weeks ago when they were in opponent territory and decided to punt instead of go for it on 4th down, and maybe coaching like this is a team with a winning record, because it's not. They're 1-8. And so what I want to see is I want to see them let Cam Ward expand maybe not expand the playbook, but don't run the same things over and over again. Let him develop a little bit. Let him work on some stuff. I know a big thing with him is footwork. I would really like to make sure that he gets some plays in that focus on the footwork. So the play action game, the run game, which I know Ross has pointed out specifically that his footwork in the run game can get a little. What do we call it? Did we call it lazy?
I think it's coaching. I think it's how they're coaching him to hand the football off, if I had to guess. I mean, I just don't like it. It's too lackadaisical and takes too long to develop and get to the mesh point.
So I want them to get to a point where the focus is on Cam Ward and making Cam Ward better for the future. And I know this coaching staff's probably not going to be. Nobody on this coaching staff is probably going to be here. Maybe Bones Fossil. I don't know. But if the coaching staff is, it is on the player, I guess, himself, Cam Ward, to continue to develop his own skills, even if the coaching staff isn't going to be following him into 2026. So
absolutely. So going forward, I think that's definitely what you want to look into is continue his development, regardless of who's coming back, who's not. What I want to see is just a good 2 halves of football, not that big drop off. And I think if you can see that, or if they have a game like that, I think they win several of these games. But the problem is you start off, have a pretty good first half, and then non-existent in the second half, and then teams pull away or you keeping it close, but you can never get over the hump because the second half just kind of got away from you a little bit. Yeah.
And I guarantee you Cam does not care where you're drafting in April next year. He wants to win football games. I'm pretty sure that's the same for every player on that team. And probably the coaching staff, who will also probably be looking for new jobs at the end of or by the end of this year.
By January?
Yeah.
If not already?
Yeah. All right, well, that'll do it for us here on Cover 2. I appreciate you guys sticking with us on a Friday. I know it's the bye week, so not a ton of Titans to talk about, but I hope we hit on some fun topics. Dr. Dyson, appreciate you joining us.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for filling in. Ross, great job back there. Loved the music selection today. That'll do it for us. I'm Joseph Bonanno. Thanks so much. I'll be back on Monday with Blaine Bishop. Blaine Bishop back from his vacation. We'll talk about where we both went this weekend, and we'll take a look at the weeks ahead for the Tennessee Titans, as that'll do it for here on Cover 2, sponsored by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. And in the meantime,
in between time,
peace.